Welcome everyone to round 2 of Division 2 in Zoom Racing League. We are here at the Formula 1 Grand Prix du Canada 2023, but it is 2024 as you know, of course. And let's take a look at the track. Some groundhogs normally pass through there, maybe even a fox. But here we are tonight. So, start finish straight, of course, into turn 1 out of 14. It's 2.710 miles. That's in freedom units. 4 and something kilometers. 14 turns, as I said. It is a clockwise wait, no, it's counterclockwise. But yeah, it is a very, very fun track. And everyone who has driven this track knows that I am lying. So, here we are for short qualifying here. Last week out it was full qualifying, but that is not the case here today. We have 19 drivers, and we do now see some drivers that we missed out on last week, which involves Matteo, who was not here last time. And if I'm being honest, that's the only one I remember, and that's because he's a Ferrari driver. So here we are getting ready for some qualifying. We do have quite a few Canadians on the grid, but settings have not been updated, so I can't show you those right now. Here is Bob LeBlog. What? Yeah, Bob LeBlog. He's here. He wasn't here last week because I sure don't remember saying that name. But here are some other drivers. Blake Stevenson was not here last time, if I do remember. He's on the intermediate tires right now just to get his install lap in. There you go. There's all the tires. As usual, we'll probably see some intermediate tire runners for their first lap, just so that they can make sure their setups are all nice and functional. But other than that, we will have only soft running, because it looks quite dry out here. Oh, and if we didn't get to this part already, my name is Nathan Doan. I am joined by no one today, but I am happy to bring you this action anyways. I'm thinking of bringing a new system to this broadcasting, and I think that system will be called Drink of the Day, because as you all know, it's quite a tradition to be having one cracked open at the start of every race between me and John Ranger, who is racing in the Mercedes tonight. But we always try and crack one open for each other. I have 2 drinks, but this first one you can't really crack open. If you've ever had I mean, it's got an accent on the E, but I'm just going to call it a Ramune. It's an Asian drink, and it's got this plastic top that is a little bit complicated, but either way, very, very fun to drink. And then, when it comes time, I'll reveal the one that I will crack open to you to start off our race. Just our race. Here we go. It is Nadewell 17 on the soft tire. It's his first hot lap. First one that I've actually ever seen. I've never seen this driver in my life, but for the AlphaTauri team, here we are, going through the hairpin, getting very close to the wall on the left side. Hopefully that means that he got a good exit out of the corner. Coming up soon is the Wall of Champions, which is very well known, I should say, for collecting drivers, tires, and whatever else you may hit with that wall. It doesn't look like he's hit the wall, but that wall is very easy to hit if you're just pushing that much faster. 1:10.8 for Nadewell, and that is followed up by Red Panda Pigeon Slayer, who is Kaganus, I think. And that is a 1:11.387 from him. Blake Stevenson on the intermediate tire set a 1:14.334. I said it was a complicated plastic top to get on this drink, and it sure is, because I did all that work. That was all the struggle while I was commentating there, just to get the plastic wrapper off. Bob LeBlog, 1:17.9. And I wonder if his name is somewhat of a mocking of just French people in general. Or maybe you should get someone with a French accent to say that name. But Wild Poros, as expected, is in his normal spot of P1. That is where he finished last race off, I think. And looks quite comfortable in the Alfa Romeo right now. He is 1 second clear pretty much of Nadewell in P2. So, good on him. Let's take a look at John Ranger, who's on his intermediate lap. Yep, that looks like he's on a lap. And the only reason I said that we should come see him is because I thought he was going to do a hot lap, but he's not. So let's go find someone else. Talking point is Matteo. He's about to finish his lap, but he is back for racing. He missed week 1 to celebrate his father's birthday, I believe. But he's going to cross the line, and he's going to give him a 1:10.230. So, not a bad lap whatsoever for the Ferrari driver. His teammate Jack Fletcher, a 1:10.9 on soft tires, so P2 and P6 right now for the Ferrari team. Let's look at Arrow. We all know this man, and he's invalidated, but we all know this man. He's a pretty decent driver here, and yeah, good racer for the Williams team. His teammate, though, Itchry, is expected to be the faster of the two, and he set the fastest purple sector. So, going down the second straight, he's got a Ferrari on his right, but he will go through this tricky little right-left. Don't want to get too much on the curb on the left side, or else you may invalidate your lap, but he hasn't done so. So, we continue on. And he's going into a hairpin. It's honestly a bit of a weird hairpin to be, gaining time out of. It's an interesting one for the qualifying sessions because you want to really get that good exit for this next straight, I should say. DRS wide open though. And the blue Williams flying towards the wall of champion chicane. Into it. Looks very nice. 4th gear. And nowhere near the wall. So lucky to cross the line and go with a 1:10.207, 2 milliseconds faster than Mac, who I can't remember if he finished on the podium. He has finished on the podium before, but I don't think he did last race. However, we still have a few people left to set laps, that being Arrow, Combined YouTuber, Buzzcod, Nick Hamrick, and John Ranger, all of which are quite fast drivers. So where do they go in the order next time they go out? Matteo is just on his out lap for his second run of qualifying. He's honestly out quite early, 11 minutes. Normally you'd be expecting to go out even later than this, around the 10-minute mark, but no, he's decided he wants to go now. Maybe, just maybe, he's going for 4 runs. Now, as far as I'm aware, you don't use the soft tires in the race. I could be wrong about that, but that could be why he is opting to go out so early here. Behind him, though, there is a Mercedes, and that is a man who has not done a lap. That is John Ranger, but that's not the Mercedes I was actually looking for. So it is Chubb Tucker. Zero. There it is. But yeah, Chubb Tucker. I mean, last time out in Japan, he didn't put up that bad of a performance, honestly. So Mercedes could have a decent pair of drivers here. One of which, Chubb Tucker, will go into the pits though. So interesting for him to be going into the pits right after coming out. I wonder if maybe he was on his in lap. And it seems Matteo has also come into the pits. So I'm really quite confused here. I think I might have just made a mistake earlier on, but Matteo back into the pits, as he should. And but we should look to John Ranger now, who I don't think will be coming into the pits. Let's go on board with him for a nice little lap around Canada. So into turn 1, it's a nice left-hander with a good amount of inside curve that you want to be taken here, and he does just that. Then it's a quick right-hand hairpin, you would say. Want to get on the power nice but steady, and he hasn't done so. He's had a little bit of a wiggle on the exit of the corner. Then through here, cut all the curb that you can on the left even. You want to get on the grass more than he did, and keep it tight to the right through this corner, and then brake very nicely. There's a curb on the left side. You kind of want to take that, but not too much. And then flick it, widen the exit just so you can get that power down nice and early. And here you go down this second straight. A little bit of DRS action here, but into a right-left. Don't want to get too much of this curb on the left. He hasn't done so. So you keep on going down to the hairpin now. No DRS on this straight, but there is a detection point. So, braking late. Want to keep it nice and rotated the car. And now, on the exit, pedal flat to the floor. And now with some DRS action, he's going to fly down to the wall of champion chicane. Very short lap this one, about 1 minute and 8 seconds. 1 minute and 9 seconds with these drivers. And here you go, so to the wall of champions, and didn't hit it. So, lucky to go on to finish his lap. And where does that put him? only P8. And in the meantime, Buzzcott has gone P2 with a 110.124. Pace as we expect from the Alpine driver who's picked so highly, he better back up that. But we all know he's the best British driver in the league. Let's go on board with Nick Hamrick here. He's about to finish his lap, but Red Bull at the bottom, something you never really see these days, but that's only because he hasn't set a time. Now he'll come through the final straight to set his time, and he has set a 109.919. He is the second driver into the 109s, and that puts him P2 ahead of Buzzcott, who I just mentioned. Someone else I think we should look to is Combined YouTuber, who is still on intermediate tires. I don't know, maybe his engineers have told him to go onto the intermediate tires just because, you know, there might be a child who spilled their drink on track maybe, so you want to not be on slicks there. I don't know what the strategy is with Combined YouTuber, but he's still on the intermediate tires, so I think it's good time to come off those right now. But Blake Stevenson is on the right tires, and he's coming down the final straight, or the penultimate straight I should say. He's got one more chicane. Let's just see how he takes it. Cutting the curb nicely, not hitting the wall whatsoever. Going down to the line, looks like it will be a decent lap, and it will be a 1:10.5, good enough for P12. So most drivers in the 110s right now, but two drivers, Wild Pros and Nick Hamrick, are in the 109s. Let's take a look at Jack Fletcher, what he is up to. Does say 3.8 seconds down on his previous time, and it doesn't look like he's using fuel, so into the pits comes Jack Fletcher, his teammate, just on his out lap now. Just about to start his lap even, so why not go on board with that? Mateo, his second run of his first race in this season so far, so let's just see what it is for him. We'll go on board, but we'll go like this. Second gear for the second corner, and now easy on the throttle. Doesn't look like he had any moment. He has a Mercedes on his right, but he gets past him very easily, of course. Then right and left and back into the section. Then he'll brake a little bit late. He's just improved on his first lap time, but now he's on to the second straight with DRS. He's going to be flying towards the right-left kind of chicane. I don't know if you want to call it a chicane, but I will. So there he goes. On this exit curb even, I found that, you know, maybe not taking it is better, but he decides to take it. He is just under a tenth better than his first lap, and that would be good enough to put him at about P3, just off P3 actually. So he's going to continue down the second straight. I feel like he has a lot more time to gain here in this World Champion chicane, but does he have the line to do it? We'll see. He did seem to be a bit more aggressive that time, got very close to the wall, so that's what I'm saying here. And across the line, it's good enough for P3. It's a 109.928. He is the third driver into the 109s, and only 9 milliseconds behind Nick Hamrick. Let's see who else we got on a lap or an out lap. Let's look at Chubb Tucker, who is going through the hairpin now. He's got 8% battery. He has improved on his time though, so I wonder if this is a hot lap. He's just got very low battery, which is odd to see, because I know that you can take the, or you don't need to use this much battery on a hot lap. He's even hit 0, so he's going to go through the final chicane now. I think he is improving, so for his second hot lap, what will it be for Chubb Tucker? It will be a 1:10.606, and I think with the right battery management, he will be able to go a lot quicker than that. Let's look to his teammate though. John Ranger, 1.6 tenths up right now. That'd be good for about P8, but I know he can push more in the final sector, so let's see what John Ranger can do for this next little bit. He is how many tenths up? 4 tenths up. That is more like the pace we expect from John Ranger. That's good enough to put him about P4. So he continues on, does John Ranger, and if he improves any more in this final sector, I think that he may well go provisional P1. So let's take a look at what John Ranger can do in the final chicane. Seems to have taken it nicely, not pushing too hard, but pushing just enough to get him through the corner, and now it's a 109.887. He is just that bit off provisional P1, but it's not a bad showing from him whatsoever. Sorry, Carl Burns. I got you, Carl. Don't worry. Trent and Fiji. Whoa. Don't give him that roll, though. Sorry, everyone. Just gotta move some drivers to their calls here. Uh, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know, Carl. I can't do it right now. It's not working for me. I'm very sorry. We are back in qualifying. Okay, we are back. Sorry for that little bit of interruption with the stream. Let me just make sure I can get everything back and running. Here we go. Okay. So we're on board with the Ferrari, and Nick Hamrick has retired from the session with a 109.549, so he's confident that his time will hold up, and I think it will, so no danger of being knocked out or anything. Mateo, on his final push lap, is pushing quite a bit. I saw him cut the corners, quite a nice margin, but he's 1/10 down on his previous time, so a little bit interesting from him. Right now we'll go on board with literally anyone else who's on a hot lap. Let's see, Blake Stevenson is on his hot lap, and we'll see what the McLaren can do, pushing the track limits ever so slightly. And will it be an improvement for the first sector? Yes, it will, by 4/10. Blake Stevenson has improved. Now, some people said this guy might be a title challenger, but we'll have to see if he can back that up. So through the second sector he comes, right and then left, cutting the corner very nicely, I must say. And now down to the line for the second sector. What will it be? For him, it will be an improvement of 5/10. So this could put him at least P5 if he keeps it going. There's an Alpine who's reset the track and crashed in front of him. Shouldn't have affected his lap time whatsoever. But it wasn't the best exit, I have to say. So through the final chicane now, what will it be for Blake Stevenson? He's pushing the car quite nicely, but he has invalidated, so that is over for Blake Stevenson, who was on quite a flyer of a lap, so unfortunate for the McLaren. Scumboard Chuck Tucker, who's in the first sector. Let's actually go to someone more closer to the line. Combined YouTuber is up 2 seconds, and across the line he goes to finish P15 just above his teammate, the Haas. I believe it was who crossed the line next. I think, couldn't see who that was. If anyone, it was almost. How could I miss it? It was the Beeb to go P3. The next I crossed the line is a Williams of, that was Arrow. He just went P15. It's Fry, however, finished P6. So we'll see what the times look like as he continues on. Kahaganus across the line, only 18th, and then behind him the Ferrari of Jack Fletcher does not improve. Next up we have an Alpine, I believe that can only be a Buzzgod, but he has come into the pits. So it's the two Mercedes that we look to now. John Ranger is going to be the first of them to cross the line. He's the only one who can improve from the top four. So what will it be for John Ranger as he crosses the line? It's going to be good for P2. So Nick Hamrick, unless anyone else behind has something to say about it, and it doesn't look like anyone else does, Nick Hamrick has secured P1 in... Oh, there's been a collision in the pit lane for BMF and Bob LeBlanc. And yeah, Bob LeBlanc. Yeah, I've been saying it right. Okay. So, pole position goes to Nick Hamrick, followed by John Ranger. He'll be starting on the second row of, or no, on the first row in his home Grand Prix, so that's nice. Then Wild Bros is right behind him, and he's met by Labib on the second row, so that's great thing to see. Mateo in his first race back is P5, and then it's Schrei is P6, followed by Buzzcott and Chubb Tucker. Then it's Mack and Fletcher. I think these two will have lots of things to be doing in the midfield today. I think they can make up lots of positions from where they're at, the two Canadians. Then it's Bob LeBlanc in the Alfa Romeo, who is P11, and then Spinini and Big Mama Frank, who does have a grid penalty. Interesting, but though they are 12th and 13th. And then Blake Stevenson, he was on a flyer, a final lap, but he didn't validate, so I wonder how much pace does Blake Stevenson really have. Then Arrow is in P15, then the two AlphaTauris make P16 and P17, then it's Kaganis and Trent H in P18 and 19. Alright, so we are getting closer and closer to the race time. So I think it's time that we reveal this drink of the day. And I think most, or some of you will call me a bit weird for making this such a big deal. But I've never had it, and the only time I've ever heard of it was because it's the sponsor of an English tournament. A soccer tournament. Football tournament, sorry. But I do have an 8.5 ounce can of Carabao, so let's crack it open here. That was a very light crack. Just gotta make sure that my mic's been recording, and it has, so lucky for me. I'll give it a taste test real quick, this Carabao. I'm very disappointed. It is basically like Red Bull, except it's not carbonated. So, unfortunate. Goodness gracious, I've spilled all over myself. Alright. But here we go. Strategies I think will be hard medium unless somehow the soft tires are good here. I do see a set of soft tires in the Ferrari garage. I also see a bunch of mechanics who are staring at a screen of numbers, so very fun. But the lights will come on very soon to start off our Canadian Grand Prix here. And here we go. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3 lights on, there's 4, and now there's 5, and we are about to go racing here in Canada. And the lights are all off, and down we go to the first corner. It looks like it's been a good start for Nick Hamrick here. But John Ranger is going to follow him through, actually, around the outside. He's going to try to go for turn 1. And now he's got the inside line, so it looks like John Ranger might take the lead here. But Nick Hamrick is still on the outside. So now we go to turns 3, 4. Who will come out in front here? It looks like the Mercedes does have the line advantage, and he does. So John Ranger is into P1. Great racing from him. Now further down the line, we have a bit of a spin, and now there's someone into the wall. That's Mack, who's absolutely crashed, and we have a full safety car in the first few corners of this race. It looked all single file until I saw a little bit of commotion in the back. I saw Chubb Tucker first starting to lose positions, but then I saw the big loser of positions. It was Mack, and we saw him go straight into the wall. He was maybe perpendicular with another car, so that explains all you need to know for what happened there. But he has left the session. He is done with this race. So, interesting start. Let's look at the positions gained. So, John Ranger, of course, taking the lead from Nick Hamrick. That's the only position change in the top 3. Then everyone else has moved up 1 position down to P7. And then Bob LeBlanc, oh, holy crap, he's gotten me. I swear he's made this name just to make fun of me. But Bob LeBlanc has gone up to P8, making up 3 positions. Then Labib has actually lost 5, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Jack Fletcher is in P10, hasn't lost any positions. And Labib comes into the pit. Does the man who started in P3, 4? Started on the second row. Does he have damage? No, he doesn't, but he's going on to the medium tires, so interesting strategy for the Haas driver. Alright, well, allow me to continue then. Spinini is in P11, who's just gained a position off of Labib, of course, and then Combined YouTubers gained 3, BMF has gained 5, so good racing from him. Then the Williams of Arrow has not gained or lost any. Then Nadewell and Kaganis have gained 1, then Trent has gained 2. So, plenty of good racing for everyone on this grid, except for, of course, Mac and whoever hit him. Or maybe it wasn't even a collision, but maybe he just spun. So I think we'll have a safety car in this lap. Labib is just catching the field now, and we're just about to cross that safety car in line now. So let's take a look here. I'm sure everyone wants to get racing underway once again, but there's a little bit of a gap being made in the midfield, so I wonder what that could all be about. Doesn't look like safety car will be in this lap, so a little bit of shenanigans in the midfield and back of the field, and that has allowed racing to go on for, or safety car racing, I guess, to be going on for 1 lap longer. So, I think it's a good time to be looking at our tires. Of course, AWS race strategies say it's hard to medium or hard medium to medium, which is not right. But let's take a look at what everyone has opted for. So, mostly mediums, mostly hards as well. Excuse me. My YouTuber is the only one to have gone on the soft tires. So, expect him to be making up positions, but this is as I expected. It's mediums, which I'm going to assume they're going to pit onto hard tires, and then it's hard tires, who I assume are going to pit onto medium tires. Labib has come back onto the pits again, and he's gone onto a set of medium tires. So I'm not really sure what he's doing here, but I think we all know that there's times where we simply can't comprehend what Labib is doing because he is simply too great. But here he is. He's going to catch up to the back of the pack, and I think we will have some green flag racing coming soon. Unless this is just to keep the safety car out. They've crossed the sector 3 line now, so unless he catches up rather quickly, we might have another lap of safety car action. So, no, we don't. Safety car is in this lap, so let's go on board, not with John Ranger, but with Nick Hamrick, just to see when the Mercedes does in fact go, and whether he catches the Red Bull out. So here we go. John Ranger on lap 3 is ready to take us into lap 4, and that will be our second lap of green flag action. So here he is. When does he catch the Red Bull out? The safety car's in the pits, so that means it's all up to John Ranger now. And it looks like he's gone now, so the Mercedes has caught out the Red Bull just a little bit, but there's already a little bit of a run being made. Now we are under green flag racing once again. It doesn't look like we are having any moves going on in the back. Let's just go back a little bit. There's a little bit of close wheel action though, and there goes Chubb Tucker. He's had a bit of a moment, and has he hit the wall? Chubb Tucker. No damage on the Mercedes, but we saw the Mercedes momentarily just slide off into the distance, and he has lost multiple positions in the process. And now the McLaren of Blake Stevenson is going to try to send a move on Bob LeBog, but he's actually going to switch back, so now he'll have the inside line for this next chicane here. Going side by side, does Bob LeBog try and stick it around the outside? He does, but the McLaren takes the position, and Blake Stevenson is into P8. And now there's a big bunch of cars trying to fight here through the hairpin. It looks like Panini's going to be alright, but now the Alfa Romeo is dive bombing the AlphaTauri, and now they go side by side. The Alfa Romeo goes ghosted. Now they make a little bit more contact. Behind them, BMF and Chubb Tucker are going at it. So the Mercedes gets past, and there's been a change near the front, but here we go. Bob LeBog has made it past, and now he's going to be getting a run on by a Combined YouTuber, but I don't think Combined YouTuber will be able to make this move unless he's opportunistic on the soft tires, which he isn't. So big moves being made in the midfield, but let's go back towards the front where we saw a move just happen. I believe it was Wild Horse or Nick Hamrick getting past one or the other. unless it could have been Mateo getting up to P4. We do not know. But crucially, John Ranger has broken out of the 1 second gap of Wild Pros, which actually has been it's back now for Wild Pros. But he's going to continue on, and you see he's lost it. DRS is not enabled right now, but when it will be, he may not have that gap in elapsed time. Mateo has done a good job to keep close to the people in front of him. Now the gap is 8 tenths between the two leaders, and now you have to wonder who will be making overtakes on who. You have a big DRS train here, pretty much as you see on the track map, a whole line of everyone. Let's go back down to Combined YouTuber and Chub Tucker, who Chub Tucker actually just made up 2 positions, so great racing from him. Combined YouTuber moving around a bit frantically. I thought he got hit, but he hasn't, so losing positions on his soft tires, the strategy has not worked out for him whatsoever. Everyone seems to be doing alright with turn 2. It's a bit of a tricky one if you get too aggressive on the power, but everyone seems to be managing it just fine. So let's go up back to P2 now. The gap has gone over 1 second between the two leaders, so we have to see what will be the outcome for DRS on this next straight. It doesn't look like it'd be favoring the Alfa Romeo, and it definitely won't now, as he has had a bit of a moment out of this left-right, or this right-left. So now Nick Hamrick, the one with DRS, is going to be charging towards the Alfa Romeo here. So here we go. Does Nick Hamrick have what it takes to make a move here? He has the DRS, but will he go for it on the straight is the question. Doesn't look like it will, as there has been a spin in the background. That's Nadewell 17 who's gone around in the hairpin. No moves being made within the top 5, so let's look a little bit further back towards Blake Stevenson, who's going to be going around the outside into turn 1 on Jack Fletcher. Jack Fletcher does not fight that at all, so we continue on. Let's look at Kaganis, who might make a move on Arrow here, but hasn't done so, so we continue on to lap 7 of this Grand Prix. Other than the first safety car and the first CNF of this race, it seems to have been a pretty clean race. Nadewell in the AlphaTauri pitting for some front wing damage, so must have hit the wall on the spin out of the final hairpin, or the only hairpin I should say. No, there's 2 hairpins. Okay, let's go back to the battle in the front. Nick Hamrick is quite close to Wild Pros, so this exit matters most for him. Medium tires versus hard tires, you expect this fight to be one that Nick Hamrick will win quite easily, but it hasn't looked like that. So onto the better quite a bit for the first part of the straight, but that's because Mateo's right on the back, and they actually made contact, the Ferrari and the Red Bull. So he stays out, and now Nick Hamrick has gotten a time penalty. But it seems he has used that track warning just to try and make a move on the Alfa Romeo, but he hasn't done so. He's actually going to try around the outside. There's hardly any room here, but the Red Bull keeps going, and they make contact, so Wild Pros slides off a little bit. That's going to allow Mateo to maybe have a run. But Nick Hamrick is up into P2, and you have some things to be said about that move. And now Labib is going to try and make the same move on Arrow, but he's done that quite a lot cleaner than Nick Hamrick did. Let's look at Jack Fletcher here. He's kind of in the back of this DRS train. Not even actually. It's only a train of 2 cars right now, 4 cars maybe. But it is Panini following Blake Stevenson, and yeah, Jack Fletcher has actually gotten a time penalty in that, and Buzzgod also another one to have a time penalty right now. Let's go back to the front here, because Wild Pros has DRS. He's quite close to the Red Bull, so does he make a move on this lap? He'll breeze past the Red Bull quite easily. But now the question is, Red Bull doesn't have the DRS right now, but the Ferrari behind him sure does. So will he go for a move, the Ferrari? It doesn't look like he will. A time penalty for Spanini. 3-second time penalty because multiple track limit warnings. It's interesting that he's taking second gear for that corner. I mean, the rotation will be there, but he is putting himself vulnerable to lots of revs on the exit, which, you know, could make him spin. So Jack Fletcher needs to be a little bit more careful, and he's kind of sliding through these corners, I have to say. Meanwhile, at the very front, John Ranger has pulled quite a gap on the driver behind. 1.8 seconds right now, but that's about all he needs to be comfortable, really. So that's putting distance between him on the medium John Ranger and everyone else who's on the medium tires who he has to worry about. So we'll see if Nick Hamrick decides to go for a move. He has a battery advantage for sure. He's used quite a bit of it, so I wonder now, will he go for a move, the Red Bull driver? He's going to be very close in the wall of champions, but I don't think that's where he wants to be making this move whatsoever. Meanwhile, Mateo is going to get a front row seat to see if this Red Bull makes a move. We'll go on this angle here, and it looks like Nick Hamrick will go down the inside for turn 1, and he will do so. And now that the Alfa Romeo has the inside line, they make contact again. So do they make it through this corner alive? Yes, they do. Wild Pro is hanging on to his position for now, unless Nick Hamrick decides to go for a lunge, but he doesn't. But can he get a switchback here? He does. He gets on a very, very tight line, and he's going to have the Alfa Romeo side by side with him now. Does Wild Pros go side by side? Yes, they do. More contact for the two drivers, and it looks like Wild Pros will still have this position. Now the Red Bull and the Ferrari make contact. The Red Bull pinned the Ferrari against the wall pretty much, and now into the wall goes Mateo, just for a little bit there, and so a little bit of interesting racecraft, but Wild Pros has defended his position quite well, I must say, and he's created quite a gap between himself and John Ranger now, up to 3 seconds, and now that is very much bunched up the drivers behind them too, so this DRS train of about 5 cars has now included down to P9. And now Nick Hamrick will make a move again on Wild Pros. So does Wild Pros try to fight this one back? I don't think he does. But big slide out of the final chicane for Nick Hamrick. So he'll continue on for now. But that last lap, I think that was very good defense from the Alfa Romeo. Yes, they did make contact, but I think that was fair contact, just part of racing. Because at the end of the day, well-being is racing. And Mateo gets a time penalty, and I have to say, its try is very, very close, so I would expect to see a dive very soon. In fact, they're making contact throughout this corner here, at least it looks like that from this overhead view that we're getting. A bit of a slide for the Williams driver, but does he go for a move on this straight? I think it'd be a bit odd to be going for one there. This straight, not really known for being able to make moves, but I'd be happy to have someone prove me wrong here. Wild Pros is kept nicely with Nick Hamrick throughout this lap, so I wonder, will we see a move from the Alfa Romeo driver? He does have a battery advantage over the Red Bull, and I think he just got the better exit there. So will the Alfa Romeo try and fly past the Red Bull? It looks like he will, and he doesn't even need to use his battery. So here comes the Alfa Romeo, and he's gotten it there, and behind its try gets past the Ferrari of Mateo, and now everyone else. Actually, Mateo's coming into the pits, so interesting time to pit for him. But now the two Alpines are going for it, and Chubb Tucker is going to try follow the Alpine of Spanini through on his teammate, Buzzgod, and they make a bit of contact, and there around goes Buzzgod after contact in the braking zone of turn 1. Very interesting contact. I wonder if there was enough room for the Alpine. It doesn't look like it if they made contact, but there you go. Trent H in the background, meanwhile, gets past Kakinus here. So Buzzgod now, after that little bit of a spin, under the braking, interestingly, he's going to have to try and recover those positions. But good racing from Spanini to get past his teammate nice and clean. It was unfortunate that he had to watch his teammate get smacked right behind him. So now that Mateo has kind of left his spot of 4th position, Itrai has a bit of a gap to make up if he wants to be in DRS. But he hasn't done so, so Blake Stevenson, the next one with DRS behind him, he sees the flashing light on the Williams. Does he decide to go for a move? I don't think he will, but he will get quite close to the blue car anyway. So, into the braking zone of World Champions, he does have to lift just a little bit, but he has taken the corners just a bit nicer, and in front, Nick Hamrick goes into P2, but behind, Blake Stevenson, does he go for a move into turn 1? Looks like he might have the inside, but he doesn't go for it. So, Nick Hamrick is the one who made the move in the end, and he's up into P2 once again. This is a nice little battle happening for P2 right now. Alright. So, back a bit further we go. Blake Stevenson held up by the Williams, I must say. Brought onto the batter here. And if I were him, I'd be trying to make this move as soon as possible because I know that the car in front of me is not quite as fast as me, even though you can see him twitching here. And he's not going to have DRS for this straight, so I would make the move right here, right now. The Williams has gotten a bit deep, so the exit advantage may go to Blake Stevenson here. He's onto the battery. He knows that he might have a run on the Williams driver, and he's going to open the DRS, and he's going to be breezing past the blue car, and there he goes. Further up front, Wild Pros is inching ever closer to the Red Bull once again. So, do we see a move being made from Alfa Romeo? I don't think we will, because that was a hugely better run for Nick Hamrick through the final chicane. So, Wild Pros will have to stick around behind the Red Bull for another lap. Buzzcott with another time penalty. He's in P11 right now. And I don't think that's frustration, because this track is one that has, you know, lots of places where you could have a track limits warning be given out to you, and he's had a big moment out of turn 2. Those medium tires aren't really paying him anything good, so he will stick in P11 for now, and he's just going to be going further and further back. Let's actually look towards Blake Stevenson again, who's actually closed up. He's gone past Itchrai somewhere in my yapping, but he's actually closed up to the front 3 just quite a little bit, I should say. But now he has to see this battle from the front seat. So let's take a look. And now Wild Pros gets past Nick Hamrick, and now that Nick Hamrick doesn't have DRS, I wonder, will the McLaren try and be opportunistic? Bit of a slide for the Red Bull 2 out of the final chicane. Spinini comes into the pits now. He's on the medium tires, and Chubb Tugger also comes into the pits. I feel like this is a bit too soon for people to be coming in on the medium tire, but they are both onto the hard tires now, so they will continue for the rest of the race on their tires. Let's take a look, see if we have any moves being made here. Trent is maybe going to make a move on the Haas. Trent H, I haven't really seen too much of him at all, but I have seen him and Kaganus switching positions at the very back. Mateo's just in front of them. Actually, Chubb Tucker is now, but Mateo is making his way on his new tires. He was the first one to pit, and he pit quite early, so he has the best advantage out of anyone. He's 2/10 up on his previous lap, so the Ferrari driver now is pushing in front of him. You can see Spinini trying to get past Arrow here. He's going to try around the outside of the chicane, and it's going to be a very interesting move if he does make it. But he doesn't. But he has gotten a very nice switchback on the Williams driver, so Arrow's going to be under pressure here. Doesn't go for the inside. Actually, Mateo goes around the outside of the Williams too, and he's made a lot of contact with Spinini. They're forcing each other through this corner. That was a lot of contact. I have to say that was a bit of an ambitious move, and now the Williams nearly loses it and flies into a wall, but he doesn't. And in the back, Trent H does spin off, so he will continue on. But questionable racecraft from Mateo, I must say. That was an interesting move to be making, but he made a move into the wall of champion chicane, so very great job from the Ferrari driver on that particular overtake. The previous one, you could say some things about it. Combined YouTuber is into the pits. Yeah, I mean, that was just 3 into 1 corner, doesn't go. I mean, Mateo, he was originally making a move on the Williams, but it seemed as he braked, he just kind of went for the inside of Spinini instead, and Spinini was then forced on the inside, and then I guess Mateo came out in front, but things will have to be said after the race about that. Let's look more towards the front now. Nick Hamrick has battery and has DRS on Wild Pros in front. He's actually dumping his battery here, so I wonder if he's going to be trying to fancy a move here in this next couple of corners. He's braking late. I think he really wants this move to happen. So he's onto the DRS again. He's not quite fast enough right now to have a move into turn 1, but he won't have it. So I wonder if that ERS deployment was to defend from Blake Stevenson, who I must say is looking to be on quite a charge right now. It's Shirai on the hard tire as opposed to the 2 drivers in front of him. He's doing a good job of keeping with. And now Buzzcott goes into the pits. Mateo, what is going on here? Mateo, Chubb Tucker, and Spinini, they all seem to be going through the exit of the Wall of Champions at the same time. And once again, 3 into 1 doesn't go, and yet Mateo finds himself in this situation again. He might even have a nice exit on the Mercedes driver. He won't have an overtake done, surely not though. So interesting. Matteo drops 2 positions. Spinini gets past and Chubb Tucker gets past. So I wonder just what happened there. Meanwhile, just how short of a lap this really shows you. But they are in the final corner now, our top 3. So on they go. The Kamek doesn't seem to be making a move here. Blake Stevenson is quite quick in a straight line, I have to say though. So maybe that's a bit of a threat to the Red Bull. Oh, and John Ranger is into the pits. So the first of our top 3 to pit. It's quite an early pit stop, I have to say. So, I mean, normally you undercut someone when they're in front of you, but he's maybe gone for the other view of that, and he's gonna be maybe gaining some position, or gaining some time, I should say, when he comes out of the pits, or when all the others come out of the pits, I should say. Spinini, another time penalty. Labib goes down to P8, but that's just because he was re-overtaken on the pit exit. Trent and Nadewell, they are fighting just a little bit, and I wonder if Nadewell has what it takes to be overtaking Aston Martin. He's quite a bit back, so I don't think so. As they go through the first corner, Wild Pros and the camera going through the final hairpin. I'm going to keep calling it the final hairpin because it's just a bad habit, so sorry about that. Not a great exit for the Red Bull driver. I wonder if he will go for a move by the time his stint comes to a close. I mean, he is closing quite quickly, but the way he's moving his car, I don't think he really even wants to go for a move here. But he definitely does have the facilities to do so right now, and he's going onto the battery. And he's still not quick enough in a straight line, but he brakes late, tries to get it for turn 1, and doesn't do so. So using a bit of his resources and not getting anything out from it. And Blake Stevenson has gotten close to him because the Kamek's had a little bit of a moment coming out of turn 2. And that's alright. Wild Pros gets a time penalty, so he's leading this race. But right now, Blake Stevenson would be the net leader. If, I mean, I guess if John Ranger doesn't appear. We have plenty of people pitting in the background. Big Mama Frank is onto the soft tires. 16 laps to do on the soft tires. I mean, I think it might be doable, but it'll be a bit of a tire management hassle for the Red Bull driver. He's going to come out right by this duo. He's going to come out in front of them, so I thought maybe we'd see some side-by-side action out of the pits for BMF, but we don't. Meanwhile, on board with Matteo, he's going to be making a move on the Alpine of Spinini, and that looks to be fairly easy, all said and done. And now, go back to the front. So into the pits comes Wild Pros. Nick Hamrick stays out, but he does get another time penalty, interestingly enough. Blake Stevenson inherits P2, but he's now following the Red Bull. Itchrai goes into the pits as well. And Nick Hamrick, he hasn't been doing too well with penalties here. He's got 6 seconds now. Jack Fletcher, another driver with penalties in the pits, he's got 9 seconds. Wild Pros has 3. Chubb Tucker has 6 seconds. And what tires is Chubb Tucker on? He is on 5-lap old hard tires. So right now, to be just P5, he'll have the inside line for this next corner, so I'm gonna assume he keeps his position, but no, he actually gives it up to Itchrai. He's in a good position, is Chubb Tucker. And there's not a lot of people behind him who could threaten him right now. So good strategy from Mercedes, I have to say. And now Itchrai is one behind Wild Pros rather than Nick Hamrick. So actually quite interesting how close Itchrai would be. I thought he'd be just a little bit further back from the Alfa Romeo, but he's right there. So who has heated up their tires better? Maybe it's Itchrai, but he's on the battery, so I wonder if he'll be able to make a move on this straight here. The top two have come into the pits, so it will be neck and neck into turn 1 for all these 4 drivers, not just these 2 that we see right now. And both of the top 2 are on the soft tires. And time penalty for Chubb Tucker. We continue on though to turn 1. Who will come out in the lead of this race? Well, John Ranger's in the lead of this race, sorry for that. But Wild Pros, Itchrai, Chubb Tucker, and now Nick Hamrick joins, and now Blake Stevenson joins. Ooh, that's going to be very tricky for these 2 soft tire runners. They pit, and now they've lost position to Chubb Tucker, and now they've got lots of ground to make up, and they've got a Mercedes to clear. And Chubb Tucker actually goes very deep, so it looks like it will be quite easy for these two drivers to be clearing this Mercedes. The Red Bull will have first dibs, but I wonder will the McLaren follow through in the same corner? No, he won't, but the Red Bull does make it through. Nick Hamrick makes it into P4, and now he sets his sights on the drivers ahead of him. But that just makes it so it's a little bit more difficult for Blake Stevenson right now. The Mercedes has gone deep and actually into the wall, so I must have jinxed it for him. He has a huge run on the McLaren though. He's going to be going for this. Hard tires, which seem to be struggling, and now they're going to go maybe 3 wide. I spoke too soon, but Blake Stevenson keeps his position. It was interesting to see that the Mercedes would go for a run, but hasn't gotten anything from it. Nick Hamrick has another time penalty. That was for turn 1 this time, so 9 seconds for him. He's not going to be winning this race by any means. He may not even finish on the podium, and I think that actually is quite a bit more likely than it seems right now. Alright, so John Ranger, 4 seconds clear now. It's been a pretty chill race for him. It's not going to be a grand slam because he hasn't led every single lap of this race, but I don't think you really need to have that stat to be proud of the result that he may get tonight. However, Wild Pros is on better tires than him, so maybe, just maybe, he will close in. It's try, I mean, he knows that he has P2 in the books right now if he just stays behind the Alfa Romeo, but I wonder if he wants to be chasing John Ranger for the win here. I mean, I don't think the sights of a win are ever really lost in a driver until the race is over, but you never know. Blake Stevenson is being attacked by Nick Hamrick, who goes off the track in the making of that move, but I think he was just on that limit where it was okay to be off track where Nick Hamrick was. So very interesting to see a move on the outside of turn 3 it is, but it has been done by the Red Bull, so impressive move, I must say, from Nick Hamrick. It's an interesting helicopter angle, this one, as we have someone around in the back. Kaganis goes around in turn 2 and just I think maybe it could have been contact with Arrow, but you know, maybe not. And there's another spinner. Nadewell is around. Is there a front wing on that car? Yes, there is. Now let's go back up front. Nick Hamrick has been re-overtaken by Blake Stevenson, and it looked like there's a pretty easy move for the McLaren driver. So all that for what? Beautiful move still. Something to focus on though. Wild Pros has closed a second in a lap to John Ranger, so maybe something to worry about for John Ranger after all. I mean, I don't truly think his shot at the podium is going to be taken away, John Ranger, but the win might not be in his hands. You might argue Wild Pros has a 3-second time penalty, but the person 3/10 behind him does not. So this could be a tries race to win, or maybe even one of these soft tire runners, most likely Blake Stevenson here. Now, if you're wondering, the black and white triangles by each of our drivers' names, those are not purely cosmetic. They are actually penalties. So, yeah, lots of that. If I'm being honest, I didn't even see your message, Carl Barons, but here we are. Here comes a Haas, that is Hagenis, who just rejoined right behind John Ranger. 2.1 seconds to gap, so not quite as much of a gain for Wild Pros on that last lap, but still gaining time ever so slightly. Oh, a little bit of a hit to the wall by Itchrai. He's got a lot of battery now. I think Itchrai will soon clear the Alfa Romeo. I mean, he's got good pace this whole thing. He doesn't have a time penalty. He's got it all to race for, so I don't see why not for Itchrai to be making a move on Wild Poros right now. He's got onto the battery. He's still on it. He's got the DRS open. The Williams will fly past the Alfa Romeo. Maybe turn the battery off for good measure too, because wouldn't want to use too much of that, because 1.5 seconds in front of him, John Ranger is the next one to be overtaken, unless Wild Poros has something to say. But he doesn't, so we continue on. Matteo makes it past Benini in the meantime, and that's going to help his Ferrari teammate Jack Fletcher really attack the Alpine here as he hits the wall, I believe, quite hard. So, wonder if we'll see a nice little dive bomb from Fletcher. No, we don't. Both of these drivers on 9 seconds of penalties, so this move is for position. We'll go back more towards the front here, unless something happens with Spanini. And something did happen to Spanini, so do we have a move for Jack Fletcher into this corner? No, we don't, but it would have been nice to see, wouldn't it? Now, Itchrai has a time penalty, and, okay, here comes Jack Fletcher. He's going to make this move on the Alpine. He's got the inside line, so surely the corner is his. And, yes, there you go. But, let's go back to the front now. Itchrai has the time penalty, so that is very, very, it's going to have a big influence on the result of this race. Because while I think they can catch John Ranger and maybe even pass him, can they break that 3-second gap? That is the question. Because now Itchrai will be under that 1-second gap with better tires, and now you have to wonder just how much will this penalty matter to the result of this race. The Haas getting out of the way, and he did give the Williams DRS for good measure, but it wasn't a really good corner for the Williams driver, so we will have to see, will there be a DRS on board the Williams for this next lap here. Did gain a bit with the DRS, but he's just not too confident through the corners. He doesn't get a good exit that he needs, and as a result I don't think the Williams will have DRS in this next straight. Further back though, we look towards Nick Hamrick and Blake Stevenson, the two soft tire runners. They're not really using their tires too much, at least not enough to be catching the drivers ahead, so that could be hugely crucial. Meanwhile, Wild Poros is going to be making it past Itchrai quite easily, but we look back now to see if Nick Hamrick will be able to do the same on Blake. Not on this straight, but maybe the next one. Oof, they nearly fly into the back of each other, or Nick Hamrick nearly flies into the back of Blake, I should say. But they keep on going through the World Champions. Further back, Buzzgod has made a move on Combined YouTuber that is quite comfortable for him. But now, uncomfortable maybe, is John Ranger, because he's got two kind of quick drivers behind him. So this could be a fight for position maybe, but the thing is, no time penalty for John Ranger. We got a nice little battle heating up though with Bob LeBlanc and Combined YouTuber. I'm sorry we missed that, but I'm going to give you a play-by-play of what happened. They went side by side through turn 1-2. Combined YouTuber came out in front. Simple. Okay. Now back to the front. So, looks like Wild Poros is quite close to the lead of this race. Does he take it right now from John Ranger? He has the gap. He's got the DRS on, and he's got he's got the battery on. Now DRS is wide open for him, so he's going to be making this move for the lead of the race. However, this time penalty could be very crucial for the result of this race, as I've been stressing for the past couple laps now. Nick Hamrick makes it past the McLaren driver and cuts very aggressively in front of him. But, continue on. So John Ranger, you know, if you're John Ranger, you really have to stick with the driver in front of you, because if you don't, then that gap might just get bigger and bigger. He is pushing just a little bit. I can see the way he's gaining through these corners. So I wonder if John Ranger is stressing out a little bit, or if he knows what he's doing. He's got 11 lap old hard tires. We have about 5-6 laps left in this race, so we will see. And Itchrai has done a good job to stay within this gap here. However, gap behind him, I think he will still finish on the podium despite his penalty. So onto the battery a little bit went John Ranger, and I don't think that was for an offensive move, but just to defend a little bit from each try, which, I mean, I guess wasn't really needed. Blake Stevenson making it past Nick Hamrick again. Now John Ranger, here he is, he's onto the battery. Does he go for a move into turn 1? He has maybe the tires, and he does. Down the inside goes John Ranger, and that turns into the outside very quick, and he doesn't even go side by side through turn 2. So, decent defense from Wild Forest to stay ahead here, but that's only going to allow drivers like Blake Stevenson to get closer, and Itchrai especially as well. So it looked like it was a bit iffy for Wild Forest through that corner. He had a bit of a slide. Probably not going to be making a move here, John Ranger, but it's interesting that he's going to decide to fight with Wild Forest rather than kind of chill and let himself be dragged along. He is just barely struggling. We saw him have a little moment. So here we are. Meanwhile, in the back, Fletcher makes it past Chubb Tucker in that little straight here, so Mateo is going to be the next one to be trying to make a move on the Mercedes. Really go for a dive in the hairpin. He is very uncommitted, but he does make it. Forces the Mercedes out of position, but he's a bit reluctant on the power, so he won't have anything to do there. Meanwhile, John Ranger not making a move yet on Wild Pros. Does Nick Hamrick have anything to say against Blake Stevenson? No, he doesn't. Meanwhile, back behind, Chubb Tucker tried to make a move on Fletcher, but completely got shafted on the exit. Now Mateo has the inside line for turn 1. It looks like the Ferrari driver will be making it past him. And there he went. And still, the Mercedes is trying to fight it. Mateo is still on the outside in first gear even. And still side by side. Or no, they aren't, sorry. But good defense from Mercedes driver. That's completely broken him up though, with the other Ferrari driver. Now Fletcher's 2 seconds ahead of this duo. And so will we see a move from Mateo very shortly? He's got a way better exit than the Mercedes driver, and they make contact. Still making contact. What just happened? Either way, the Ferrari was ghosted, but it looks like the Ferrari will be past the Mercedes, and yes, he is. 2 Alpines swapping positions in the back. They know Spanini has a lot more time penalties, so they want to let Buzzgod get as far as he can away. Now Chubb Tucker went very deep there, which will give him an okay exit. He's onto the battery though, so he's going to be chasing down this Ferrari on the straight, and he definitely will have the move by the way this looks. And back defending his position is Chubb Tucker. The thing I've been noticing though is that Chubb Tucker just doesn't get a really good run out of the final chicane, and that's what's been hurting him the most. That's why Mateo was able to overtake in the first place, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, these two have been pretty much fighting the whole time. They've been on the soft tires, and they haven't really been able to do anything as a result of that. An escape from Tarkov Racing League. I have no idea what that would include, but I might talk about it to the other admins. But anyways, we continue on. Mateo is a little bit closer to the Mercedes. Chubb Tucker goes completely deep, but I feel like he's doing this on purpose because he's throwing the car through the exit of the corner, and as a result, he is getting a huge exit. Huge! Buzzgod gets past Panini again, so I wonder why they're not switching positions. 15 seconds of time penalties now for Spanini. Let's go a bit further up the grid here. So John Ranger is so close with Wild Pros. As it stands, the order for the top 3 would be Ranger, Wild Pros, It's Try. And I have a feeling that It Try is maybe just telling John Ranger to hurry up a little bit because he has to have this opportunity to make it into a P2, maybe, but he's not really given that there's a Mercedes in between the two. So onto the battery, onto the DRS now. It looks like there will be a move being made from John Ranger. It's going to be the outside line this time, onto the grass completely. So he'll have the inside line for turn 2. They make a bit of contact, but the Mercedes driver will have it. And the Mercedes driver is into the lead once again. John Ranger is your new race leader. So this is what I was saying. Now It's Try needs to be able to make a move on Wild Pros, and that will be for position. John Ranger has nothing really to worry about, but we'll have to see what happens here. I think the best thing Wild Pros can do right now is put the Mercedes back behind you so you have a little bit of a buffer going into the final lap of this Grand Prix. But opportunities will only go down for It's Try here, so we'll have to see what happens. There you go, the Alfa Romeo and the Mercedes going a bit deep, but as a result, of course, you have that exit speed. And doesn't look like the move will happen this lap. Wild Pros will be overtaking John Ranger though. He's flying past the Mercedes. Horrible camera angle, sorry for that. But that means now it's going to be very difficult for him to try to be making up any positions, especially when he's so far back from the two drivers in front of him. Meanwhile, we go down to Matteo, who may be able to make a move in here. Nick Hamrick gets another time penalty, which shouldn't affect him too much given that Fletcher behind him is 16 seconds behind him. But it is what it is. I might have just lost audio. That's fun. I think the stream is also lost audio, so I wonder if it's a me problem or not. Because my microphone is still giving audio, but the game is not, so hopefully, there we go. All fixed, but it's a final lap of this Grand Prix, and John Ranger has crossed the line to win it, and Wild Pros goes P2, It's Try is P3, Blake Stevenson crosses the line to go P4, and Nick Hamrick with P5. Then we look back towards where the time penalties really start to matter here. It looks like Jack Fletcher will keep his position. Matteo gets past, or maybe just gets passed by the Alpine of Buzzcod. Huge contact for the two. It's going to be a drag race to the line, and the Ferrari will get it. P6 or P7 for him. Combined YouTuber jumps the whole lot though for having less penalties than them. Chubb Tucker finishes P10, then Bob LeBog goes P11. Labib goes P12 and Spinini goes P13 with all of his penalties. Then Big Mama Frank just finishing the race now. Will he jump Spinini? No, he won't. That'd be spectacular if he did though. Arrow to cross the line P15, and Nadewell will finish out our finishers for P16. Alright, so interesting that we lost audio in that very last moment of the race. Sorry for that, everyone. And here we are. So John Ranger levitates to his top step of the podium. His first win of the season, I think. Yeah, his first win of the season. Then Wild Pros steps onto the second step of the podium to finish ahead of It's Try, who I think gets his first podium. Actually, no, it's not, is he? It might be his first podium. I'm not sure. A lot of podium finishers here today. Lots of champagne being thrown around. So let's skip to our race order. Here we go. Loads of penalties, but the order goes: John Ranger, Wild Pros, It's Try, Blake Stevenson, Nick Hamrick, Combined YouTuber, Fletcher, Mateo, Buzzgod, Chubb Tucker, Bob LeBlanc, Labib, Spanini, BMF, Arrow, Nadewell, and Red Panda, Pigeon Slayer. Then Trent and Mac. Here's our race director, just so we can take a look at all of our warnings here. I'm flying through it. Come on, guys, do better. Alright, but that is the end of that. So let's get over to our interview screen. We'll move everyone in shortly, and actually, we will start with our P3 finisher. Welcome to the podium booth. Oh, sorry, I must have interrupted your conversation,
You're
but
good.
P3 for a try. I mean, congratulations, man. Talk us through your race.
Went pretty well. The first kept up with everyone on the mediums in the first stint, which was pretty good. Sad I got that 3-second penalty at the end, but I was happy racing with Wild Poros and John and Josh pretty well the rest of the race. So I was pretty happy with it. Another podium for the year. Back to back.
Yeah, back-to-back podiums. That's a very good way to start off your season. I mean, so John Ranger, I don't think he was anywhere in the top 10 in the first race. So you might be fighting with him for the championship. I think you are a contender. And then, like you just said, you're fighting with Wild Pros. So
I
back
think
to
it's gonna be a good battle the rest of the season with them. So and Nick had he'll be up there too, but he just got track limits this week. So
yeah, I mean 12 seconds. That's quite a lot of penalties for someone to have. But
yeah, so you ain't gonna get points with that. So it
yeah,
was a good race overall. I'm happy with it.
yeah,
On to next week.
congratulations.
This isn't one of my better tracks too, so happy with the podium.
Yep, congratulations, man. Have a good night.
Appreciate you too. Bye.
All right, now our P2 finisher. I swear he was the winner of last race, I think. But here we go. P2 for Josh Mulder, Wild Pro. Sorry for interrupting your conversation again, but welcome to the interview booth. It's P2 for you, and talk us through it, man.
Yeah, it's just frustrating race all around. I broke my sim setup during my first quali lap, so I lost about 6 tenths in the around that in my last my second sector and third sector, and just couldn't get comfortable for the race. So it was just a bit of a mess, but it's always next week.
What broke on your setup?
My pedals.
Oh,
The bolt that's securing them to like where they are, so they
hmm
were just moving around the whole time.
yeah, that's probably uncomfortable without that. Do you think that you could have had more of a race win there, or maybe
Uh,
not?
yeah, no, definitely. I was practice sessions. I was doing like consistent 109.2s for quali, with best lap being like a 109 flat, and then race pace. I was almost a full second off my regular race pace, and just it is what it is. Such is life.
Yeah, I mean, you look to be on contention for a win anyway without that penalty. You almost had it, but other than that, it was a great race from you, so congratulations.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the broadcast.
Of course, have a good night.
You too.
Alright, and now our race winner. It is none other than the man who you will see tonight, but he is in the broadcast booth one day early. John Ranger, welcome to the interview booth.
Yeah.
This is our home. Yeah, I think you might have heard, but guess what I opened up for you tonight?
Well, not an adult beverage, obviously, but
Says who?
is it another cranberry Sprite?
Oh, no, it wasn't. Honestly, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it, but I'll give you a hint. It's the name of. Oh, well, you don't even watch soccer, so it was a weird energy drink. It's called a Carabao. But yeah, that was it. But other than that, I didn't drink it. It was horrible. But I did enjoy watching you race. I mean, you were leading by a few seconds for pretty much the whole thing until towards the end. So to just talk us through it a little bit.
Yeah, I got a great start off of Nick and felt I had a better pace than him on the equal tires. I know Wild Cross and he has a tendency to do that, and he's really good at doing that. He'll start on the slower tire and be very quick near the end, as he was. But you know, you gotta play. You gotta play the strategies right here in Canada with the DRS and everything. So I knew when to fight him and when not to fight him. and obviously much of the grid had penalties, and I was able to avoid that, so that was a difference maker. But I also wanted to make a bit of a statement and do that overtake at the end of the race. Whether he had a penalty or not, I wanted to prove that it was fastest on track. After a very disappointing weekend at Japan last week, I had some certain things to prove, and I still have things to prove, and I'm going to continue doing that this season.
I love that. I love those words. But I have something that I think maybe he brought up to you. In qualifying, his pedals actually broke, so he's gonna blame that for why he was slower tonight. But do you think that you'll still have him otherwise on the next races this season?
I mean, whenever a guy's not first, there's an excuse, isn't there? So we're gonna find out during the season if those excuses actually mean anything. I mean, I own up to my mistakes in Japan. I didn't have the right setup. I didn't play my cards right, and that's on me. This week I decided to do my homework in my hometown, in my city. This is where I grew up. This is where I was born, and this is my home turf, and I was gonna prove it to everybody that this is my race.
And what a race it was for you to win. Congratulations, man. I hope that I'll be in this booth tomorrow, but you know, if it not me, hopefully my teammate. But congratulations on your first win of the season. I know it won't be your last with words like that. So congratulations on your win, and you'll be here tomorrow. So adios.
Thank you, Nathan.
Alright, luckily my microphone didn't pick that up, but it is what it is. So after that lovely race in Canada, we had a home race winner in John Ranger, and some good action in between. Lots of penalties, I must say. So thank you everyone for watching tonight's race, and please like and subscribe, and have a lovely night. Adios.